so first and foremost, a big apology to my listeners. I'm still kind of getting over this nasty cold I have, I bet you could probably still hear it in my nose, and if I cough here and there. We got a special guest on today that I've been looking forward to interviewing for a very long time. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, tell us who you are and what you do.
Hey everybody, it's Gale Raponi here from Tuff-N-Uff Kennels. I'm a breeder of the American Bull Molosser and T&U Bulldog. I've been for about 27 years now.
All right. Man, it's a pleasure to have you on here. I talk to a lot of dog people. I have a lot of people on here for interviews, but the more I started to hear about who you were and the more that these listeners were hounding me, it's good to finally have you on. So
thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate the listeners too.
Absolutely. Now, why don't you take us back and tell us when you got serious into the dogs and what made you go the direction you went as far as breeding?
Gotcha. Well, quite a few years back, about 27 years by now, I got interested in protection dogs and that type of breed. I always liked the bullied breeds, but I ended up with a German Shepherd for one reason or another, and sunk a lot of money in the dog and sunk a lot of money in some Schutzen training, and the dog ended up being stolen. So I decided at that point that it was time to move on to something a little more defensive. And that's when I ran into a fellow by the name of Dave Sanders, and I purchased a bulldog from him. And then I ended up getting a couple more dogs from him, and then he hooked me up with Billy Hines, and I ended up with Hines Bishop, and that began my program. And from there, I just kept running into guys that were protection dog enthusiasts and trainers, and it just blossomed from there. And we set up the training facility, and I began training bulldogs, basically. And then I got interested in the Molosser type dogs, and I wanted to build a better bulldog, so to speak. Bulldogs are great, don't get me wrong. I don't want to piss anybody off, but they're a little bit on the tunnel vision side, and once they go into drive, it's tough to get them out. And I like a dog that's a little more handler-oriented, without a whole lot of work and compulsion and this and that. So I developed the ABM, and it's been very promising. Each litter gets better and better and better. And I've got a dog now that I consider probably one of the best protection dogs, one of the best family pet protectors and companions that money can buy today. And that's just about it right there in a nutshell.
I gotcha. Now, as much as I'm interested in the ABM, I want to know first, when you were breeding your bulldogs, the Tuff-N-Uff bulldog, before you started the American Bull Molosser program, what were some of the things you were trying to? You mentioned tunnel vision, but what were some of the other things that you've seen as problematic in the bulldogs you were coming across?
Oh, a lot of hip problems, dog aggression, things like that. Eyes, inverted eyelids, a lot of inbreeding going on that wasn't really focused. I'm not an adversary against inbreeding. I do some of that myself, but you want to weed out the bad things. And it's just a small. At the time, it was a much smaller gene pool than what we have today. The gene pool's a lot bigger now, of course, but I still see the same old problems, and that's why I outcrossed and went into the ABM. The tenacity, I love the tenacity, I love the courage, the strengths, and all of that, but I like a dog that's a little more handler-oriented, a little more focused, a little more family-oriented. And that's what I get with the ABM. And a lot of the breeds that I used are used extensively in other countries for protection work, police work, things of that nature. Mm-hmm. And I was attracted to that. And I wanted to up the size a little bit, but keep the tightness and keep a lot of the traits and characteristics that the Bulldog does offer. Mm-hmm. So that's each litter, like I say, it's gotten better and better and better. And I've kind of weeded out the things that I don't want and focus mainly on the traits and characteristics that I do want. And okay. I've been pretty successful at that.
So what went into the American Bull Molosser initially?
Well, initially I started with the Neapolitan Mastiff and the Dog de Bordeaux and the South African Boerboel, and crossed that with my Heinz Bulldog stock. Mm-hmm. And also had access to some old Hermes stuff and some older Johnson stuff, and it seemed to blend in there quite nicely. And like I said, it's a work in progress always, especially in the beginning. And you got to test, you got to train, you got to continually look for. I'm my own worst critique, to be honest with you. I look for all of the mistakes and all of the bad traits and in the beginning and try to work them out. And been pretty fortunate, like I say. And you got to test, though. But if you don't test, you don't train the dogs, and you don't prove the dogs, then you shouldn't breed them. That's my motto.
I agree, 100%. So what's the average size of the American Bull Molosser?
Well, to date, the average males are anywhere from 110 to 150 to 160 pounds. I got one here that's 160 pounds. He's a big boy. His name is Noah. He's a fantastic dog. And he's 3 years old. I'm hoping he's done growing. But average run-of-the-mill in that 120-pound range.
I gotcha.
You can almost guarantee it every time.
So Noah happened to be like one of your more freaks.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
He took a lot from his great-great-grandfather, Vulcan, the Dog de Bordeaux. He was 180 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, when we talked briefly yesterday, you mentioned that your Dog de Bordeaux was not what people usually see, like, say, on Turner and Hooch.
Correct.
So, and I've touched on this a number of times with people. 9 out of 10 when it comes to the Mastiff breeds, a lot of people see these big, really girthy, sloppy show dogs.
Right.
But for each one of them, I've seen like almost a completely different looking dog when you see a working specimen.
Correct.
Was it the same for your Neapolitan Mastiff?
Yes, very much so.
Okay. What are some of the things you do to test your puppies?
Just the normal stuff. I lift them up in the air, spin them around, throw keys down on the floor, get some tug toys and play with them, and pull them away from the teats, see who gets back to the teats the quickest, that kind of thing.
I gotcha. Now, in the litters that you're having today on the American Bull Molosser, what is the success rate?
Oh man, they're just about 100% across the board. You might get one once in a while that's a throwback to one of the dominant breeds that I used as a component, but very seldom anymore. They're all great working dogs. I have access to almost every one that I've sold, and people come back for food and training and this and that, and I see the same traits and characteristics. It's pretty cookie cutter now.
Okay.
It's like a dream come true, to be honest with you.
I can imagine. I've had many late nights just up thinking about the perfect band dog.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just one thing that never escapes me. Just like, man, but what if what if we bred this to this? How could we improve this breed? Or how could we take from this breed and add it to this breed? Moving forward, what are some of the things that you would like to change, or some of the things that you see can be improved on with your breed?
Right now, to be totally honest with you, and I don't want to sound arrogant, I want them to stay right where they're at. And if I can keep that going, I would be really, really happy. I'm really happy with where I'm at right now with this breed. And I'm kind of like a closed program. I do have one outcross coming down the line. I won't mention any names, but it's going to be pretty exciting. And it's probably going to be my last outcross. But I'll let you know when it happens.
Okay. All right.
And me being the only breeder, it's pretty easy to control things.
Right.
And I don't. I tried having other people breed, but they just don't do it. It's like loaning your car. You know, nobody's going to treat your car the same way you do.
Mm-hmm.
And that's basically the concept.
Would you say that? And I guess this could be a general question for all protection type breeds or gladiator type breeds. Would you say that your dogs are naturally protective?
Yes, very much so. I spend very little time training anymore. Mostly command training and control and house training, socialization. The other stuff just comes natural. I got pups that never see a sleeve, never see an agitator or a decoy, never see anything negative. They come here when they're 8 months, 12 months, 14 months. We test them, and they come out of the chute like they've been training for years. It's unbelievable. It's so comforting.
That's awesome.
And the people are so happy with their dogs, and they're so proud. And I don't see them again for another 6 months sometimes. Mm-hmm. And they'll come back and for a little tune-up, and that's all it takes.
That's awesome.
Yes, it is.
It makes things easy. It makes things easier.
It's so easy. It's all natural.
So, outside of what you have going on, is there any other breeds you like or have your eye on?
You know, I'd like to see him fix the Doberman. The Doberman is a nice dog. It used to be. I remember as a kid, a couple of people that had them older people that I knew in the neighborhood. And I was a paper boy, so I knew the dogs, and I knew what they were capable of. And I was never afraid of the Doberman, even though it was a large, imposing animal. I was never really afraid of them because they understood what a threat was. And I don't trust them anymore.
Right.
They really ruined the breed.
Yeah, I noticed that there's differences from. I don't know the full story. I haven't really studied Dobermans, but
right.
From what I see, there's a difference between like your average American bred Doberman and European bred Dobermans.
Exactly. That's true with most breeds.
Yeah, I see that with the Rottweiler, a lot of the Shepherd stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, there's differences. I don't know if they just breed differently over there or if they're more serious about the protection side of things.
Yes, yeah, both counts. You're right on both counts.
Okay.
They test, you know, the dogs to them are not just a commodity or a status symbol or bling bling. Dogs over there have a different status, I think. I've been to Poland, I've been to Spain, and it's a total different world. In the dog world, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, we got to get it together over here, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
We got to get it together because, like, I all I saw was a side-by-side photo of an American Doberman and a European Doberman, and well, at least that's what the caption said, and it just looked like two completely different dogs.
Yeah, bone density and substance and things of that nature.
The European Doberman still looked scary. Like,
Yeah, man.
that looked like a machine.
Right on, right on.
So, how do your dogs weather the extreme cold and the extreme heat? Do they do all right?
Oh, my dogs are outdoor dogs. They're all in kennels. They come in the house to interact and things, but for the most part, they're outside. They're in their kennels.
Okay.
We feed a lot of venison and things, all raw diet. I don't use any dog foods. I haven't used dog foods in 22, 23 years.
See, that's something I'd like to get on board with. It's just the one time I tried raw, it was just so time consuming.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, well, the way I was doing it was just, and it was just for a couple of months. I just wanted to see what would happen, and so I would take like a chicken leg quarter, a little pound of ground meat, some gizzards, kidneys, hearts, a couple chicken feet, some blueberries, and and I'd put them all in freezer bags. So I'd spend like an hour and a half, 2 hours one day just bagging up dog food to put in the freezer.
Yeah, I can see where that would be time consuming. We feed it frozen all the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that alone is an exercise.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And a happy one. They love it.
So how would you compare your males to your females? Would you say the females are hotter?
Yes, very much so.
That's something I've been asking a lot of people lately because it seems to be a pattern. I noticed they say like a lot of times a female will dominate the yard.
Yes, sir. You hit the nail right on the head.
Okay.
And the darker ones, the black ones, they are bad.
That's the second time I've heard that. Do you think color comes into play?
I do.
I wonder what it is to that, because that's the second time I've heard that that a black dog or a red dog is.
And that rings true in my bulldogs and my ABMs. And the black dogs are actually hotter, and you can tell because we train quite a bit, quite extensively, and we train in defense. And I can tell you, there's a big difference when a dog bites you when he's pissed off than when a dog bites you in prey.
I wonder what it is. I wonder why, scientifically, I mean.
I have no clue. I breed for it, I can tell you that.
Yeah, I would too.
Yep.
It's just something nice to look at too. There's a pure black dog is just something really pretty to look at.
Oh yeah, and the muscles show up nice in pictures. And
oh yeah.
Just a beautiful animal. Yep. Yeah, he's very impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you can compare the American Bull Molosser to another breed, could you?
No, I don't think I could, to be honest with you.
And that kind of rings true with, if you don't see exactly what you want, you breed for it.
Right.
Gotcha. If there was any other breed that you can outcross to, what do you think you would choose?
A game-bred American Pit Bull Terrier.
Bingo.
Yep. And that's for health, longevity, handler orientation, tenacity. Oh my God. And their nerves. You can fire shotguns next to their heads. They don't give a damn. Nothing rattles them.
Yeah. It doesn't get much better than that.
9 times out of 10.
Yeah, I have to say, as far as what we would call a pure breed, I'm starting to question the term pure breed across the board these days. But
amen.
What we call a pure breed, I would say there's really nothing like the Pit Bull Terrier.
Nothing.
How close do you usually breed? Are you a fan of inbreeding, line breeding?
Well, I do a little bit of brother-sister stuff once in a great while. I'll do grandfather, granddaughter, things of that nature.
Okay.
And that's about it. And that kind of sets the type, sets the characteristics and traits and stuff. And you can weed out things and double up on some things.
And you've never had an issue breeding full brother to sister?
No. I've actually had great, I don't know if you want to call it luck, because it sure as hell isn't skill. I mean, I'm not a scientist. I've never been to college for animal husbandry or anything like that. I don't know how to explain it. I get a feeling. I can tell, and it's always been good to me. My stomach, my heart tells me what to do.
Yeah. It's funny, I very rarely hear about people doing brother-sister breedings, but I have heard it, it's been done.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially, I'm just taking a guess here, but correct me if I'm wrong. Essentially, if you're doing a brother-sister breeding, wouldn't that just kind of multiply the traits you already have? So, for example, like I got dog A and dog B, and they're brother and sister. But man, I just wish I had more of these dogs that are exactly like this. Is that pretty much why you would breed the two?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And then, of course, they're not for sale to the public. These are for breeding purposes only.
Right.
Or they stay within my family or real close friends and guys that hunt and things of that nature. And,
So they do hog work and stuff?
Oh yeah, definitely.
That's awesome.
I should have sent you the video of Walker. My son raises hogs. We got 60 acres of farm land down the road, and my son raises hogs and sheep and cattle and chickens and ducks and all of that. And we got Walker, and he's been a farm utility dog raised specifically. And we can put him on a hog and call him off a hog. Unbelievable. Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yes, it is. I'll send you the video. I forgot to send you that one.
Okay. So when you're looking at a litter, how do you select what you want to keep and what you want to place elsewhere?
It takes time. It's not a snap decision. A lot of them catch your eye right off the get-go, but you want to watch that because it can change in 2-3 weeks,
Right.
Usually, though, by 8 weeks, 6 weeks, I can tell which ones are which. And in the bulldogs, I'm talking.
Okay.
The ABMs, they're pretty much cookie cutter, like I said earlier. And it's more of a cosmetic thing with them, with me now. I know what I want, I know what I favor, and I know what I need for the breeding program itself. So those are what I just make my decisions on. The characteristics and traits as far as temperament and working ethic and things of that nature, they all pretty much have the same situation going on in their little brains.
Gotcha. Man, that's impressive.
Thank you. It is. Yeah, I'm impressed with it myself. I'm still dumbstruck now and again,
Right. The wow factor.
Exactly. It never gets boring.
Yeah. How many, with your bulldogs and your ABMs, how many do you have on your property total?
I think I have 8.
We were talking a little bit before about raw feeding. Can you dive into that a little bit? What does your feeding plan look like?
Sure. I have a supplier. He supplies all the zoos in the area, and I buy my meat through him. It comes in a 5-pound tube, ground beef. Then I have the ground organ meats and the green tripe all together like a sausage. Comes in the same 5-pound tube. And I use raw chicken backs, and that's about it. Other than during the hunting season, I get a lot of the carcasses from the guys that do the packaging of the venison for hunters. So I have a couple of guys that I frequent and take all their stuff, and then we raise chickens. So I feed them a lot of raw eggs as well, shell and all, like a little vitamin,
Yeah, yeah.
And that's about it. But they get their bone and stuff through the chicken backs and the venison carcasses. I don't feed any weight-bearing bones. I don't take the legs. They whack the legs off. I just take the rib section, backbone, neck, and that's it. And I have a meat plant out here, basically. Got my own butcher shop, and I cut them up on the saw and give it to them segmented,
Right, okay. Are there any kind of supplements you throw into the mix at all?
I started using supplements from MPV supplements years ago, and I didn't see much of a change or an improvement, so I just stick with the raw diet. Keep it simple. My whelping bitches, when they're whelping a litter, I'll throw in some lamb dog food. What is that dog food, honey? Taste to the Wild, grain-free lamb. I'll throw that in there for calories, added calories for the milk production.
Okay. So you'll only use kibble when a female is pregnant or whelping.
Correct.
Gotcha. Now, for your American Bulldogs, is there a registry you work with?
Yes, I've got the Worldwide Kennel Club. I started using them, and the NKC, ABA, and the UKC as well. So I have a variety of kennel clubs that I associate with.
Okay.
And that goes for the ABM as well. The ABM I started with the Worldwide Kennel Club.
Okay.
I had to go like 5 generations deep, send pictures and lineage, and keep track, keep a stud record basically, stud registry.
Gotcha.
I've been working with them for quite a while.
So, what advice would you give somebody that wanted to get into the ABM?
Test your dogs. Test your dogs. Train your dogs. For whatever venue you decide to focus on, test them in that venue. And, it's like rabbit dogs. When you want to sell rabbit dogs, breed and sell, you want to sell dogs that are going to hunt rabbits. Mm-hmm. So you want to test them. You want to make sure that they're worthy of the name, so to speak. And that's the most important thing you can do. Mm-hmm. They got to be able to walk the walk, not just talk the talk.
Tell me about the future. What's your vision?
Well, like I said, I got that one outcross coming up here, and that's going to be really, really special, I believe. And I'm just going to take that back to the stuff that I have already, and I do maybe 1 and sometimes 2 litters a year. That's it. Mm-hmm. And you can't. You got to watch them grow. You got to test them, so you can't be pumping out puppies all the time because you don't know where you're at with those puppies.
Right.
And so it's 1 or 2 litters a year, and you can test them and see where they're at and go forward that way rather than guessing all the time. Then you get in trouble.
Yeah.
I don't want to be associated with puppy mills at all. You know what I mean? That's a bad handle right there. There aren't enough smart people in the world to handle these smart dogs.
That's actually a very good point.
Thank you.
In fact, I've said it a number of times. I don't think a large percentage of the population should even be allowed to own a dog.
Exactly. I'm with you.
And there's a slippery slope there because on one hand, I believe in the Constitution and freedom and, do what you're going to do as a man. But on the other hand, sometimes I feel like, man, if you're going to have a big, dangerous dog, sometimes I feel like people should have to be licensed, you know, like,
Amen. I am 100% with you on that. Not everybody is deserving of a high performance animal.
right. And I get hundreds of comments, emails, messages, you know. I want a protection dog, you know, to protect my family. And it's just like, well, how many hours a week do you work? Okay. Are you going to have the time to actually spend with this dog to
Right.
be able to develop an off switch? Is your wife, you know, strong-willed enough to handle this dog when you're not home?
Bingo.
I mean, there's so many things that go into this. That's another one that might hurt feelings is, are your kids bad? You know?
Yeah, right, because the dog will correct them.
Yeah, if you got shitty kids and I hate to put it like that, but, you know, the kids that think, oh yeah, big dog, I'm going to ride it like a pony, you know,
Yeah.
and the dog turns around and nips.
Mm-hmm.
Even that little nip, you know,
Yeah,
might
that's
leave
just a little correction.
Yeah.
They would give a sibling or another dog, and that's how they speak. That's how they communicate.
Yeah, even if it doesn't break the skin, they're still getting put down for it.
Yeah, bingo. Just for communicating.
Yeah.
There's a little thing we call the defensive protocol: an alarm, challenge, threat display, and then engagement. So there's plenty of warning signs. It's just that people don't recognize those warning signs. That's going to lead to them getting bit eventually.
Right.
If they would just understand, then there'd be a lot less people getting bit.
Do you ever produce in your bulldogs or in your ABMs? Do you ever produce any dilutes like blues or anything like that?
No.
Okay.
I had a blue early on. I used a Cane Corso mix one time. It was a band dog, Cane Corso mix. And I used her. I loved her. Her name was Nina. Great dog. And I used her one time, and she produced a blue. And he was a pretty good dog. But when push came to shove, he just didn't have enough courage for my taste.
I gotcha.
Yeah. So I stopped using. I did it one time. I did the Corso Cross one time, and then I never went back to it. So anything that's recent doesn't have any Corso blood in it at all.
Gotcha.
Not a big fan of the Corsos.
Yeah, the Corsos right now there's a big split in the community.
Oh man, for the last 20 years, from what I remember.
Yeah, the Italian versus the American.
They're not going to send the good ones over here.
Yeah.
Unless you know somebody, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it seems to be a very closed circle, that's for sure.
Right on. And you can't blame them because America bastardized everything.
Yeah, we screw up a lot of things.
Yes. That's why I went with the ABM and developed my own. I just wasn't happy with what was in the mainstream.
Yeah, it seems like a combination of money and popularity just destroys everything.
Yes, sir.
And
yes, sir. Greed. That word greed.
Yeah.
Enters in the equation, you know.
And what really scares me is that the term band dog is becoming more and more popular. So now I expect to see a shit show.
Yeah. It's been that way for the last, I'm going to say 6-7 years.
People are just going to breed whatever to whatever and
right.
Try to slap
I
the
really
band dog
can't give an account of what's going on. Not an accurate account anyway, because I don't really pay much attention anymore to what other people are doing. I got too much on my own plate to focus on and make sure I don't make any mistakes. So I don't know a hell of a lot of what's going on outside of my kennel other than hearsay. So I try to avoid what other people are doing, but a lot of times it's unavoidable. I mean, it's pretty obvious what's going on.